So the first order of business is approval of the July organizational and regular meeting minutes. Had some changes to those today. Have any other neighbors' questions?
Move approval.
Is there a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up is the approval of the expenditures. Request for the allocation $10,000 from 60045-1 professional services to 60032-1 software licenses. Thanks, you want to talk about that at all?
So the rationale for that is that we're on a program of probably about every 3 to 5 years of replacing computers, and that's generally when we're incurring software and licensing fees. It's when we're replacing workstations. So yeah, that got a little bit ahead of us. So it should be primarily toward the beginning of the year this year. And so that's what that is to reallocate from professional services to for this project of replacing the workstation.
Sure. Move that separately, then keep going.
No, I think if we do it as part of all of the expenditures, just as long as it's, or maybe yes, ahead of approving the expenditures, because that way we won't be overspent in that line if we
Okay,
technically.
Okay. all right.
Yes,
That's a good question. So how many stations is it?
and then how many,
Well, over the last two, this will be going into the third year, second fiscal year. We replaced all the staff stations in the past, and that was about 45, and now this coming fiscal year, we're doing public stations, and that's 24, 25-ish.
So then the library still participates in the recycling program?
Oh, yep, we have, well, we haven't in a while, we have given them to, places that refurb them and ship them off. That was GE, they had a committee of retired employees that would do that. They don't do that particular thing anymore, but we make sure that when we do, and this is what we've done in the last couple of years, we send them to a recycler. They ecologically recycled within state regs and all that sort of.
So when you send the units for recycle, is there any revenue drawn, or is it just an in-kind?
They do charge us for a few things, like if we have big battery backups. Batteries cost more to process than they get back for the processing, but the majority of the things like the keyboards and the cables and the towers themselves, that's usually that cost.
so right, so we're not making any money, we're spending.
Oh, right, that's part of that, $10,000.
Yeah, and the other thing that happens that is now starting to happen, and it started over the last number of years, is that with the software, it used to be you bought a workstation and some of the software was included, and that's still the case, but now everything is a subscription rather than a purchase it once. You repurchase it every. And so that may be a thing that will cause that software line to grow over time, so maybe visit out.
Yeah, we've in the past, we've stretched things a little bit, so we're still using 2016 Office. That's coming up, that they're phasing that out, and I think the phase out will be a lot shorter. Starting now, they'll give you 3 to 5 years, and then they'll push you off onto the next one, because it's all subscription based, so they can turn it on or off.
Right, and the phase out generally means there's no more support either from the manufacturer or from the joint automation system. They will refuse to support any software that is outdated.
Thank you.
We also have August prepaid checks, number 73834 through 73839, totaling $5,487.00. The August warrants, number 73840 through 73929, totaling $345,690.45. September prepaid checks, number 73930 through 73933, totaling $2,823.71. And September warrants, that's 73934 74027, totaling $156,510.21. Anybody have questions about any of those? Long list. If not, would somebody like to make the motion to go please? Expenditures?
I move to approve expenditures.
Thanks, Jean. Thanks. Now we move on to the approval of the financial reports. So we have August and September prepays and warrant summary sheets. We have the budget report. And the income report.
And so just a couple of things to point out on the budget report. One, where you see we're overspent in the software licenses, that will be fixed by the motion that we just made to do the reallocation. The other thing where there might be a question is when you see that under the periodicals and microform, where we're at nearly 75% for the year. That's because that is essentially an annual fee that we pay to renew all of our magazine subscriptions to a single vendor. So it's front loaded. And then the remainder is for things that come up as the year.
On the income report, is what was that claim payment from for?
The $19,000, that was for, and I think it's included in my report, that was because of the
that the
two
brownouts?
brownout subdivisions, and that was for the first one that didn't do as much damage as the second one. Second one was still pretty largely unresolved.
Anybody have other questions about the income report? We also have two gifts. There's an unrestricted donation of $100 to Paula Smith. And a donation of $1,000 from Stewards to support the Reach recovery.
Nice.
Like, if nobody has anything else, I get a motion to approve the financial reports. So, he needs their second. Thanks, Carol. All in favor? Aye. Next item is the president's report. I don't have a lot to report. We did just hear from Katie that there is no update on the branch expansion stuff. So there's public comment.
Sorry, can I ask about that, about the branch expansion? So where did we leave it in July?
I think we left it that we are not needing to hear a little bit more.
Before we, or anything, forward or not, or.
Yes, and there just hasn't been.
Okay.
Update.
They're waiting for architect drawings and things, so there was no reason to have a conversation until someone has a sense of space and size and.
But we haven't made a final decision on it.
No,
So
because
we're
they don't
looking at
have anything to tell us what they, it would be a very different conversation if they. Yeah, and if there was a possibility of someone donating towards. Construction and all that, so I did reach out last week, and he hasn't gotten back.
Thank you.
I don't think there's any correspondence and communications, but I think. The director's report.
Right, so the good news, and it's hard, knock wood, as they say, that it seems to be that the elevator replacement and upgrade project is actually ahead of the original schedule, and it looks like on the latest schedule that they provided, the completion date actually corresponds with the date that we're celebrating our 70th. So it's moved up from mid, so hopefully that will happen. So it's moved up from mid-November to the 24th.
Nice.
We have seen behind the doors here, there is actually an elevator in there. They're working on some last minute plumbing and electrical things, and then the next thing that has to happen is that the elevator will come back and do the programming to make sure that it comes when it's called and that it stops where it's supposed to stop and do all of the programming that's necessary, and then they'll come back and do the finishes, the flooring and the walls. So it actually seems to be, despite getting off to a little bit of a rough start, like most projects do, actually progressing nicely. And there's a lot of noise happening behind those doors that these days, which we like, because it means that something is actually happening. The mechanical systems is a place where something is not happening yet. We're in this little bit of a limbo. We have done the repairs for things that were damaged or broken. Most of the things in the first event on the 5th of July where the building automation system got fried, the component of the generator got fried, a few other things went wonky. We've been able to repair those things. And then there was about a week later, a second event, which we think was probably related, but because it was a second, like, kind of area-wide brownout and power outage, it really did succeed. Knocked two of our HVAC units, including the largest one in the building, which is the largest and also the most inaccessible one. We want to say, right? Offline. So they knocked two, one in the roofing area above the quiet study room, and then one in a mechanical room next to the story room on the ground floor. There was actual fire and smoke and now, initially, it seemed like with the engineer that they sent out to look at the issues that they were looking at a total replacement of those two units. And now they've come back to say that they might actually be able to repair the motors and some other parts of it rather than replacing the whole unit. And where we are now, it's kind of in the limbo. That second scenario is of course more attractive to insurers. And the first scenario might be more attractive because we don't know what else we don't know in terms of what was damaged from the smoke and what has gotten into other parts of the machinery. So we're waiting to work that out with the insurance company. And then what we don't know is there might be some recourse from National Grid if it was related to the power grid. And what I think, but I don't have a 100% secure certain answer at this point, is that if the insurance company, if we work out with the insurance company, whatever we work out, that is in terms of recovering some of that cost from National Grid, that would be between the insurance company and National Grid rather than between us. The other things from my report, lots of news about the Friends of the Library. Their annual meeting is coming up at the end of the month. The big news there is that they'll be electing their new officers for the upcoming year and giving their annual awards. So the Marie Madden Award is kind of the Volunteer of the Year award. But we have a pair of volunteers who you've probably seen at the, if not at the greeting station coming into the library, everywhere else in town, where they kind of are a dynamic duo. So Chris Toole and Alex Morgan will be the recipients of the Marie Madden Volunteer Awards. And then they do the H. Denham Hunt Award, which is kind of the Lifetime Achievement Award for service to the library. And this year's honoree will be our very own Katie. But that'll be on the 30th at 6 o'clock. Book festival is coming up. There's a lot of stuff going on related to that. Including now we see from Terry this afternoon, I think there might be some kind of tie-in between the book festival and the poet laureate, celebration for Jay Rogoff, who's going to be the new poet laureate on October 4th. They'll be an event next door at Cafe Leaf. So, and then the 75th anniversary of the 75th anniversary of the what do they call it? The complete charter of the charter of the library. There'll be a celebration on the 24th of October here at and Gina Michelet and Jen Allen and Michelle Isopo have really taken the reins to arrange that. It will be a fundraiser for the Friends of the Library, which is the one exception that we made in our policy for charging people to attend events in the libraries if it's a fundraiser for the Friends. They've got all kinds of things planned in terms of there'll be noshes and candy and music, and they're encouraging people to dress in their 1950s attire for that day. The tickets will be $75 a person for the 75th anniversary, or $50 per couple. So a little bit of a discount. If you have it,
Is the other way around? So I thought it was $50.
It's the other way around for two.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
$50, is it?
I thought I.
Okay, all right. There's,
No.
I don't know.
No, that's not
I
fair.
will find, I mean, that would make more sense. But as a perpetually single person, I don't like parties for couples. Unfair single things. So that's. Those are the highlights of my report. If anybody has any questions beyond that?
That picture's the highlight.
Elephant piggy, very exciting.
Did you even have your elephant and piggy socks on?
I do, yes. Yes.
When I first looked at it, I was like, who's that little boy? Not. Those things were really big.
This has to be really tall inside the costume.
That's two of our team bonds.
So these are tea.
Oh, that's great.
And so you actually can rent piggy.
There's a company that rents for very small, like you basically are paying for the shipping just so long it's a literacy related activity. And they have a couple dozen book characters there.
Jen? What about your summer?
Sure. Like, it's played the future. A lot of it was gardens this summer. Got a whole team of people going to our community garden and tending to it to make sure it thrived. And we are very good at growing tomatoes and flowers this year, not sunflowers. And I think our neighbors like us better. And that's at the Pitney Farm. And one of the benefits of it not only is growing, like initially we wanted it to be a seed library and try and regenerate our seed library here. And that will happen with the flowers. I tried with the tomatoes and they just rotted in my office. So I got rid of them. Is that we were able, once the harvest started, to bring food in every week for the staff to take home. So, or have as their lunch. So they were treated to a lot of kale and more recently tomatoes, which is probably, they're happier about tomatoes than they are the kale. Other than that, we are getting ready for our staff development day, which is a week from this Friday. And it will be in Greenfield, and I sent an invite to everybody. If you're more than welcome to join us for any part of the day. With to. Do you have any other questions?
So, and just to expand on that a little bit, so for staff development day, the highlights are, we're gonna be at the Greenfield Center Firehouse. And we'll be hearing from the town supervisor, the town historian, is the town historian coming? Or
No, we're going on town historian's tour,
Right, so,
the recreation, the fire chief. And
so,
that's it.
right, so people within the town of Greenfield that we've partnered with will be learning more about what they do. And then in the afternoon, we'll disperse on tours, and divided up, we'll have a tour of the Stewart's manufacturing plant, which I'm super excited about.
Make sure you get in.
Right, so it'll be like space limited. The town historian is gonna take some people on a tour to the caboose, to the museum, to the Dayton Schoolhouse. And we're working on, we haven't finalized, but potentially a tour of Indocina for some people. So kind of the highlights.
What's next?
Nothing really to highlight, just kind of what we were up to the whole summer, last couple of months. The 3D printer was down for a couple of weeks while we figured out what was wrong with it. Luckily we did, Randy did. Staff PCs were taking up a lot of my time and so that took up a lot of Brendan's time covering for me, fixing the random things throughout the day. And Wi-Fi, just mentioned that because we had started a project to move over to a less expensive, comparable Wi-Fi system, a little more manageable locally here. And finally, just 3 weeks ago, was finished when we replaced the last piece of hardware. And so now it's all ours and do what we will, which is let everybody speed along on it as much as possible.
Questions for Don?
Can I ask you about the note at the top? So am I reading this correctly? So there's now about 10,000 people a month less coming into the library, or am I not reading that?
Yeah, compared to before COVID times, yes, there's, yeah, about 10%. We're getting about 23, 24 nowadays, and it was in the 30s.
So the difference, I mean, now it's about 800 people a day compared to about 1,100 prior to.
You think though part of that is the shift to people using more digital resources, so they're still using the, I mean, it looks like our resource use is not dropping like that,
Yes,
so.
it's definitely a difference in the way people are using what we're providing.
Thank you, Trevor.
Well, circulation staff and many other members of the library staff got really nice, well-developed cabs this summer, carrying items up and downstairs, but especially the shelvers was absolutely awesome. We had some great team volunteers this summer as well. Really, everybody pitching in, many hands making light work, so that, you know, the items were getting moved upstairs, items were getting moved downstairs, service the steps, I mean, just like taking these carts down the ramp, around the parking lot, and, you know, just keeping things moving from behind the circulation desk. It was really awesome, and I thank everybody for that. It really made an enormous difference. And the other thing here, I mentioned something before about issues that we've been having with our book vendors, or one of our book vendors, Baker and Taylor. So we just learned over the past, sometime last week, that Baker and Taylor was purchased by another company called ReaderLink, and a ReaderLink is a massive book distributor who basically they sell books to large retailers like Target and Walmart. And so the hope is that with their acquiring Baker and Taylor, then library customers may also have access to the warehouses that ReaderLink has. And so these shortages that we're experiencing both, you know, here at this library and at all public libraries, that person from Baker Taylor that some of these issues with purchasing will be alleviated, so keep you posted on that. Otherwise, I mean, Sarah and Jen were really busy this summer. I mean, Sarah's a one-person circulation machine, only 1,374. These are physical items that she's delivering directly to individuals, or when she does pop-up libraries out, you know, when she goes into the community. And Jen, I was very jealous of her this summer. It seemed like she was out in the community doing all the fun things, you know, bombing around in a van, kind of like a band roadie. And so it's really cool. And if you didn't have the chance to take a look at the clip from News Channel 10, it's definitely worth a few minutes every time checking that out. Really, really nice coverage of the school summer gift program and the library's outreach man. So that's, I think, Marianne, I know, Marianne, I get the feeling with her students that there seems to be, she's really, I think that, I don't want to say there's light at the end of the tunnel, but I think that she's doing a ton of work to try to meet her students more where they're at. And that's really all I'm gonna say about that as we go. So, but she did provide us with some nice stories of some of the successes that they're having. And then finally, and we'll get to this later in the meeting, but the Song Swap program that's been going on for 12 years, that was started by Dan Hubbs. The members of Song Swap, which I think we have about 15 core members that meet every month here at the library, and we play music. We kind of go around in a circle, and often it turns into a jam session when somebody starts playing a tune that everybody else knows, and other musicians will join in. And it's a very, very relaxed, judgment-free, all abilities welcome. Let's celebrate lifelong love of music. And as somebody that's been involved with music my whole life, and my father's a retired music teacher, this is the kind of thing that just doesn't happen in many places at all. It's very hard to achieve. It really takes building a culture, which is something that's done over the course of the decade. And that's because of the efforts of Jeff Wall, who really just, he lives that love of music and passes that on to everybody that participates. So looking forward to hopefully that resolution and action. So that's all I have. That was a lot, I'm sorry.
Good stuff. And we skip a month, so there's a lot of catch up. I feel like I just need to let everybody debrief their what happened. Let's see, what services, Catherine?
So I feel like I always spend the first couple weeks of September staring at a spreadsheet with numbers and then trying to figure out how to tell stories with my numbers. And one of the things that I did some math last week, and I'm like, it's so exciting. One of the things that's really hard for people to quantify is like impact of summer reading, right? And I can tell you anecdotally, because people tell me how valuable the program is, but it's so hard to express it. And a couple weeks ago, there was a family in, and they said that they live here in the summer, they live elsewhere the rest of the year, and it's a very different library situation where they are the rest of the year. And they were just so appreciative of the way they feel so welcome here, and the program itself really encourages their children to like read more and want to read more because we have an incentivized like encouragement program. And that got me thinking when I stare at my numbers, on average, kids that read this summer, 2025 with us compared to 2024, on average, they read 2 hours more per child. And that to me is like really significant when you think about like state standards are like read 15 minutes a day, or to complete our summer reading program, it's half an hour a day. And that doesn't sound like a lot until you have a child that it's challenging with, or they don't like to read or sit still. So I spent a lot of my time thinking about what are we doing? But I think I'm really happy this year with our summer reading program. Our teen program, every year we're like, what can we do? And the first day of school, I think we had 10 kids back in the teen room. It was the most we've seen in a while. So it says to me that our strategy of being a third place and a safe place for our teens is working. So, you know, you can see our fun photos. I put all the staff on there. Isn't that fun? And that was a really low thing to crouch in. They all spent all day carrying books up and down the stairs, and then I had the meal in a box. But we had a really wonderful summer. I really appreciate the support from the board and the friends so that we can do fun things, you know, but we had a great summer. I'm really proud of it. Thank you.
Summer reading looks really, the summer reading program looks very different for adults than it does for kids. But we did have a summer reading program. We did have an adult winner and they got a gift card to, Saratoga. They now call it Paint and Drip. So they were very happy. Paint and Drip instead of paint and sip. I guess there's no more, well, I mean, you can sip, but they don't provide. And then, you know, we typically don't program quite as much in the summer, but we've got some really great programs coming up for September and October. I just keep saying to my staff, like, I love everything that you're planning. Everything seems great. We're moving into Saratoga Reads as well. So we've got 5 contenders. We're putting those forward to the public for voting. And I just want to say, if you scroll a little, perfect, stop right there, Todd. Miriam and Jasmine, during COVID, they started the adult take and make crafts. They made over 5,000 and they have retired from the make and take craft business now. And so we are not going to offer those anymore, but they made over 5,000, which is crazy. That was definitely a labor of love. So thank you to them. Question.
I have a Saratoga Reads question. Do you alternate? Is that what I remember that there's a fiction one year?
Yes, last year was fiction, so this year is gonna be nonfiction,
Yeah.
and so there's 5 nonfiction titles that just went out to the public today.
And I have a question about the West Side Oral Narrative Project.
Oh, yes, yep, so an intern was in working with Michelle in the Saratoga room, and she got everything digitized and uploaded. So now if you go to Saratoga Springs, the history room is like a tab on our website. You can go there and you can see all the different people. There's photo, there's information about them, and then yeah.
But there's no actual oral piece to this. I kept looking for a button that these people were gonna tell their story orally online, but there isn't, right? I didn't miss it.
Let me click on it.
I mean, cause, you know, yeah, it's all in their words.
Certainly, I'm gonna come over and show you.
Oh, it is on there, and I just am illiterate.
So I just clicked on person.
I think there's some librarians.
And this is picture, this is the information about her. Here's and she's got an hour and 3 minutes of
I
audio.
think that was showing up. Okay, so anyway.
Yeah, oh, yep, so you click on any people. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. I was very excited because I live on the west side.
Yeah.
What's that?
Anybody else have questions for me? Great. Tell us about the round.
Just to be back a couple weeks and have all that electrical stuff happen and paperwork and insurance and quotes and all that stuff is hard enough. But then having no elevator, we're facilitating them, but we have a lot of extra work. We're moving stuff instead of, we're going up and down stairways, rolling it all the way around the property to get it back up to the first floor. Depends on the size of stuff. So that's why I started out thinking, you know, with the maintenance guys, they're like, we want winter. And I go, be careful what you wish for. I said, we want winter, yeah. But it has been extremely busy. I'm juggling too many things and what notepad did I write that up? You're trying to find a note because you were having multiple conversations, excuse me. But one really good thing happened. We got a new electrical contract, and unlike many people, our bill will be going down. Well, at least the supply side of things. And that was a big deal. We worked on this for like 18 months. You're watching the supply and demand curves, the cost curves, and you know,
the history part of it is going away because everything is all the information is instantaneous now. So everybody gets to react in a shorter period of time. And if you're not right there when it happens, tomorrow morning, oh, it's too late. That just changed. So we signed a 3-year contract. So, cause that was just a couple days after that grid announced their big increase. And we got a decrease. So, I had some help because I don't have all the connections at each individual company. And you have to have that quote, and for us, one of the biggest deals is some of the companies started to cut out the green certificates for that. That was an additional charge, and we go, not part of ours. Everything has to be included, and if you don't provide us that number, then you'll drop to the bottom, because we're not guessing. We have to have that fixed cost. So I thought we did exceptionally well, and they're like, when's your meeting? We can't wait that. I go, I know, you need it signed today. But we made it happen. Other than that, a real lot of additional time was invested in our pollinator garden out on the other side. People don't realize how much extra work it is to water every day, to clean up, do some weeding. We didn't do tons, but you're just trying to keep it going and get it established. And we recently just put 24 bags of mulch, bigger mulch in it to protect it from the heat and to keep, the small fine mulch underneath where it is. So I think it looks great, but I'm glad we're not doing that again. It was way more work than we really expected, when you're signing up for it, but it'll pay big dividends, in the years to come. Other than that, we're doing lots of repairs outside. If you haven't noticed, a majority of the benches on this side of the building, all the woodwork has been rehabbed. Some of it we flipped over after we filled it, to protect it. We were trying not to spend lots of extra money buying new benches. We gotta rehab the metal part next. There's so many, all this new digital building maintenance system gives us lots of information. Like I said in my report, it helped us identify a controller that wasn't communicating properly. It was too far after the electrical vent to connect it. I don't know what that bill is yet, but we couldn't have it fail because that was the biggest fresh air system we have for the building. So I just said, listen, pre-program it, bring it in, replace it, we'll do what we have to do, but if that had failed on short notice, that would have been a big deal. Other than that, any questions, comments?
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's becoming a young man's game. The day of the 7-Eleven, I had 18,000 steps and there was still over 3 hours to go and there was no elevator. For that, so it was one of those things, you just keep running. Go check that out, go check this out, and I had some help at least initially. But they kept going away and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. It's all good. Any other questions? Thank you.
Ellie. We have one new appointment for our cleaner. And then just had a small update about performance evaluation system that we switched to. Nobody has any questions about that? Do you want to do that appointment now or do you want to wait?
Either way, if we do it in new business, there are two things from the reports that maybe we don't.
Any other questions about staff reports? Don't think we have any special or committees reports. So, unfinished business, we have a draft policy on social media process and comments. There was a new version this afternoon. But you have a chance to see it, but it looks like Don has it.
And this new version to me seems much more streamlined and straight to the point.
Yeah, Jen, had some good comments, short those.
And a thank you to Frank for drafting that and Jen for providing some feedback.
And my questions about it are, what do we call it? Did we call it social media policy? We already have something called the social media policy, which lives within the employee handbook that relates to the way staff use social media. In the agenda, I think last time, because, for lack of a better thing, we called it the content and comments, social media content and comments policy. Do we call it public or social media policy?
I think you want to distinguish it, yeah.
To differentiate it from.
But in essence, though, it could, does the other one differentiate that? That one was more about employees discussing other
Yes,
employees, or couldn't this be something they also have to pay attention to, that they too?
Yeah, they would definitely need to pay attention.
Right, so they somehow need to be paired for the employees,
Right,
but for the public, be on the website or something, right?
I mean,
The employee one's pretty employee focused.
It is,
It
yeah,
is, it is.
and it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
but it doesn't cover this level, right?
Right, it doesn't, I mean, it
I
actually,
think it's in there.
in some ways it does, it talks about the way employees should behave while using social
Okay.
media. But it doesn't say, doesn't give any indication of what our expectations of the public are when they're reacting or responding or commenting on our.
I think it covers the behavior of the employee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well.
So do we need to make it a narrow item or are we comfortable with it as?
I think it's just confusing if we have two separate policies called social.
Yeah, because I thought that this was, before I read it, I thought that this was for the employees. I was like, oh, we're cheap. Like, it's not.
Because the initial
Yeah.
draft
Right,
was
was.
pretty largely.
I think public social media policy sounds
Yeah.
fine.
And then
Is the one for staff any different?
it's slightly different, yes, I mean, it says things like staff must identify themselves. If they're commenting on behalf of the library, or if they're commenting on something that the library posts, they have to identify themselves as library employees.
So maybe that could be like an addendum. So this could be the general social media policy. And in addition, staff have additional cautions or whatever
Right,
that is. Yeah.
Or potentially the other way around, because the other one, like I say, is within the employee handbook, which is like work rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe say staff are also expected to abide by the public social.
Yeah, just refer to.
Yeah, just to make sure that there's a connection between.
That makes sense. So if you have other comments or questions?
There was a question, and I'm uncertain about the legalities of whether our social media presence is a public forum.
I think that's a difficult legal question. I think you want to avoid creating a public forum. I don't think that's the intention of our social media channels. So, I mean, I without doing like the full research, I think at this point, we should just say we have no intention of creating that forum, because it isn't.
Right. And so, and I see that there's a nuance in the policy. It doesn't say it does not create, it says does not intend to create.
Yeah, because there's
So
no opinion yet, still fighting it
There,
out.
I mean, there are Supreme Court cases
Right.
that are decided in 5 days. When they're licensed people,
Right, it's,
you know, I mean, like, it's not,
They're deciding what, Frank?
like, there are Supreme Court cases, that, about like whether or not a license plate, you know, like a license.
Yeah.
That a state puts out and then lets people make special, like, is that
Oh, like.
protected by the First Amendment or state
No, by the state.
proprietary?
Right.
um,
Well, and everything that we have for public comment legally with the board, we have the channels that exist. It's never been an intention to use social media to
Right.
comment. We've never checked it as a board. We, wouldn't know to go looking there for
Right.
letters to us or,
and you wouldn't have the access to.
no, we don't have the access to do it. So that doesn't seem like that's an intended use, right? Would you agree?
Why wouldn't we have the access?
I mean,
Well,
we
we
have
are-
access to things that
we
are
are-
public, that are posted publicly, but not
Right.
to like messages sent to the Facebook.
Oh,
page.
Right, and we are
That's it.
administrators of the
Right,
library's
right.
public policy, I
I
mean,
thought
public.
this was more for public, public sites.
It is,
It is, but the question was, is there an issue around, is it like basically another place to make public comment?
Oh.
Like what we, when I'm saying it, we never functioned as a board, that's a place for us to turn.
but they were going there to look for comments to bring up in this.
Yeah, they would need to do the other channels to. Right, I mean,
Right, yeah.
that way.
Right.
And I think that's in the bylaws, right?
I think, I think, yeah. I don't have them with me right now, but we could double check it, but that has never been an intention that. If someone would use it that way, so.
No, and I think really the goal was just to sort of say, these are the things that we're gonna take down. I know this has come up in other places where there's posts and the comments aren't appropriate, and there's sort of this, you can either have comments or not have comments, but this sort of says we're not tolerating a specific kind of comment, and that way we can leave it open. But take down things that don't fit.
And it gives us recourse when somebody is behaving. But
Right. Which I always thought is an extension of what the policy, the patron policy would be within the building.
Right.
Or, on the grounds would be same expectations of behavior.
You have that language, which I kept, matters of public interest that have been identified and raised by the library. We're defining. Well,
right,
What the topic
Right,
is.
so that people can't go and just start random posts, right?
We're ready to take a vote on this with the one change that it would be titled the public social media policy.
and then, would it have like a link?
Yep, so then the next step would be that we would put it on the library's web page where all of the policies are. And then we would, in their social media channels, as part of our about us, say. Users of these platforms or whatever are expected to abide by the library's policy.
Can I ask you, there was a statement at the early part that said, the library may raise a question for discussion on social media.
Yes, yep.
Aren't we using it then?
I mean, we have done, like, when we were doing strategic planning, and we created a poll that we wanted people to respond to, we would post that on our social media channels, so that.
Or the Saratoga Beats.
Or
right,
Saratoga
probably
Beats,
right now,
Right,
would be
yes,
announced.
right. And we have done things like when we were shut down for COVID. And we had videos, like I put out a video, this is my home library, show us your home library. And things like that, we might ask. We might solicit input from.
The only thing I don't know then is there any place or is there precedent that we indicate that there is a new existing public social media policy on these social media sites? You know, at what point can you hold somebody responsible for something if I didn't realize that there had been a change?
What we can, and we can make a post saying, here's our new
Yeah.
social media.
That seems
Yeah.
to me like that would be a good thing to do, send everybody.
Right, and we can do that, and then, in the e-newsletter that goes out, we could say. Board has approved some social media, and make a link to the parents. But yes, that's to make it.
Because then you can't have anybody say, I had no idea that I even needed to go to about and whatever.
Is there like a patron code of conduct that would also?
Yeah, that's not new, but yes, that's, we could definitely. Include that post about behavior expectations. In the library and on our channels.
So do you want to make a motion to approve the public social media policy?
I moved to, did somebody else do
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
I moved to approve the social media policy.
Thank you. Second. Judy? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. New business. First, we have a request to appoint Justin Fuller, payment and operations, part-time, effective September 12th. So would like to make a motion to appoint Justin. Carried and second. Carol, all in favor? And then we
I
have.
was gonna say with that for about 24 hours. For staff.
I just don't like that the HR guys are laughing at me today. So my office is like, oh, it's been a year since I've not had to hire anybody. And then I get an email this afternoon. I'm like. So,
Our last item is the resolution of commendation for Jeff Walton that Trevor mentioned earlier in this report.
So this is a little bit of an unusual thing. We've never, in my experience, had a patron-driven request for the library in some way to recognize the contribution of someone who's done programs for us for so long. But it seems like it's very interesting to me to watch, especially in the times in which we live, to see how the people who are regular attendees at these various programs. I see it in the book that I lead. I know Trevor sees it in this group. We see it with Storytime parents, that people are building community in library programs. And it really, when I'm having a bad day, just walking downstairs and looking in the meeting room to see what's going on, it's astonishing. So even though this might be an unusual request, I mean, I would, I don't know if implore is the right word, but encourage you to say yes, that you would approve this resolution, especially since we're looking now to respond more to what the patrons are asking us to. I don't think I intended to give an impassioned plea for the way.
I have a couple of grammatical.
Yes, I'm sure, yes.
I've ever written some please.
I don't mean.
Yeah, no.
Well, there's in the penultimate whereas clause, I don't think you need a comma after modern.
Oh, no, I definitely do not.
In the resolved, obviously, springs is supposed to be
Yeah,
capitalized. The second resolution is, I find it kind of messy. If you read it, I think you'll find it that way as well. I mean, I could suggest alternative.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I mean, you could just say expresses appreciation. You've already said, like, you talked about contributions and service, enriching lives. You could just say expresses appreciation, gratitude, contributing to the library's overall mission. And which is to, and then just end there. Cause you were
Yeah,
kind of,
that works.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I think this is great. How is it, so it's significantly different from like the other awards that we give out? Right?
Right, it's not I know I've experienced, or since I've been here, seen resolutions being adopted in honor of, staff members' service to the library, this kind of
Different
thing. And so it's adjacent to that.
Okay.
And, yeah, and the difference is, I mean, the awards that we give, we don't really give awards to the public. I mean, it's the friends give awards to volunteers and the people who made a contribution to the library. We've done commendations for staff members and for retirees, et cetera, but I don't know that we've ever, that as a board, and that's the difference, is that this comes from first to someone providing a service to the community on behalf.
And we've done it for board members.
For board.
Right.
but someone who's been providing like programming for so long, it's very popular, it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I think, and again, just being in music for my life, it is a very unique kind of thing. It takes a unique kind of person to foster this kind of culture where it's no competition. It is a come as you are, truly come as you are. And people that I've experienced, and I've been doing this program now for 4 years. I've taken it over from, I think Jen Ogrodowski was doing it before me, Dan Hubbs before Jen. And I've experienced on many occasions where someone very, it's hard to walk into that room. It's hard to walk into that room with your instrument and sit down and play for a bunch of strangers that all seem to know each other. I mean, this is terrifying. And they do it, and the people that are there, they get it, they bring you in. I was terrified, but I'm the library representative, of this group, and I'm sitting here with the cello going, oh my God, what am I doing? And it just the care and the encouragement that everybody gives, and occasionally the instruction. I mean, it doesn't happen. You're not going to go to find us at an open mic night. I mean, this is not that. That's still a performance for an audience, and this is kind of something for everybody, and it gives people an excuse to pick up their instrument, and play a little bit every month and prepare a couple of tunes to come. And so it kind of keeps that creative outlet, alive. And so it, dust off the fiddle, dust off the guitar, or whatever instrument you play. And so, and it gets people out, and it's community, we're combating loneliness, we're combating bad days, So.
What is the age group? What is the range? Do you have a range of ages or?
Yeah, I think the youngest members we've had coming were around 19, 20. And I've got other members that are in their, actually, I've a member that just turned 80 this year, so.
I've got a simple revision that may address Frank's concern about the resolution number 2.
Yeah.
Although, unless Frank, you want to.
Go ahead,
Josh. Okay. The word contributions can carry both what comes before the quotation of the overall mission. And what comes after it, so there's a little bit of confusion because we have contributions and then contributing.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So I would insert a comma after the quotations, the community, empower the entire community, comma. And then simply say, and to an overall veteran. In other words, take out contributing to.
Yep.
So it's contributions to one thing and then to something else. As it's called the law of conservation of commas, you.
I've been accused of
Commas from one place, you have to insert it somewhere.
I've been accused of loving commas way too much. I think commas matter.
I was just gonna say that the spring should be capitalized after Saratoga.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah, Frank had caught
Oh,
that.
you said that? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's Monday.
I thought you were raising your hand to say you're in the conservation clause.
So would you like, I'd be happy to, make the changes and resubmit? Would you like me to do that, or would you like to take action, and trust that I would make the appropriate?
I think.
Accept the friendly amendments? Yeah, so, whichever.
Little Robert's rule.
Yeah, I don't know those.
All right, so we'd like to make a motion. Trust this resolution. Thank you, Carol. Is there a second?
Second.
Right, all in favor?
Thank you also very, very much.
You know, I have to drag my trombone down in the basement.
I might be willing to get my saxophone.
Except
Except that you're a Joe that but I'm sure you're a better player and then. I'm gonna tell you, they don't play the.
Does anybody have anything else? Can you remind me, because now I'm conflating this with city council, we do motions to adjourn.
I don't know that it's necessary.
Sounds like to adjourn. Seriously. All in favor? You're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.